All right, wonderful people, let this joyous joy of joys continue with our next session. This session is Transforming Your RTO and Boosting Enrolments and is presented by the wonderful Tracy Parisi. Tracy is a multi-award winning businesswoman with over 25 years of business experience. She specialises in media buying, marketing, sales and strategic consulting to RTOs and education companies. Let's welcome Tracy to the stage, please.
Thank you, everyone. So I can see all the smart, beautiful people have turned up to this session this afternoon, the people who like to have fun. Oh, and you're a really interactive crowd as well. Thank you for making me feel welcome. I'm glad you're all as nervous as I am. Love it. So today's session is really about... our slides coming up? We might wait till the slides come up. I need them. It's about transforming your RTO and doubling your enrolments in the next 30 days. Plus, we're going to be speaking about how you can use automation to increase efficiencies in your business. And I'm going to show you a bunch of things today that, if implemented, will absolutely increase revenue and increase your profits. And even for the RTOs that are pretty good at this stuff, I've actually never met a business owner who isn't leaving money on the table. So my hope is that today you get to take some actionable things that you can go away and put into your business that you'll see an immediate result on. Is this the correct one? Thank you. Got forward and backward. Is it working? We don't have forward. Oh, we went too fast. Here, we've got forward. Okay, so my name is Tracy Parisi and I am the founder and CEO of Student Convert. And, you know, I'll never forget the day I was told in Year 10 that I wasn't allowed to matriculate. So I was doing the research, working out what subjects I wanted to do in Year 11 and 12. And yes, the word matriculate will give you an idea of how old I am. But the powers that be at my school decided that I wasn't allowed to matriculate. And all I'd ever wanted to do was go to university and learn how to become a primary school teacher. That was my dream. I had no idea at the time there were so many options, career options available for me out there. But what I did know was that I definitely didn't want to spend another 2 years at school going through Year 11 and 12 to not be able to go to university. And the types of careers I had thought about were learning how to become a secretary, what else? A hostie, until my grandmother said to me, no, don't, your legs will be too sore. You're standing on your feet all day. I thought I could be a hairdresser. So a friend of mine at school told me that she was going to go to the Parramatta Metropolitan Business College and learn how to become a secretary. And I thought, secretary, that's on my list of careers. So I went home and spoke to my mum and dad, and they agreed to let me go to the Metropolitan Business College and learn how to become a secretary. Now, not being able to go on at school really did have a huge impact on my self-esteem and how smart I thought I was. And I had no idea, I didn't know at the time that this college was an RTO, and I had no idea that I'd go and learn the skills that would eventually bring me here to where I am today. And it was that RTO that helped build back some of my confidence so that I could know that I was smart enough to study. I was smart enough to learn something that I could go out and get a job. And you guys absolutely have the power to impact on people's lives. And in some small way, I like to think that I help my clients enrol more students. So I get to have an effect on the ripple effect and the butterfly effect of impacting people's lives. So just one of our clients, he has, they have enrolled over 3,700 students in the last 12 months. And I really like to think that though, and there's amazing stories that come out from this RTO, or all the clients we work with, but I do like to think that in some way I'm forwarding on what I got from being in that RTO. Not everyone's cut out to go straight to university, and you guys can absolutely have that impact. So the more I can help you enrol more students, the more people we're helping, the bigger impact we have on transforming people's lives. Next slide. Houston, we have a problem. So I get to speak to RTO CEOs, managers, marketing managers, and all sorts of leaders in RTOs every single day, and there's 4 main problems that they speak to us about. And today we're going to look at what those problems are and the ways that we help clients fix and overcome those problems. So people don't and won't buy the way they used to. They want less phone calls. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but a whole lot less people pick up the phone. And I'm going to show you some statistics shortly. So we're going to have a look at those problems that we get to hear about every single day and what you guys can do to fix it. So the first problem we come across is the fact that it's really expensive to generate student inquiries. It's not going to get any cheaper. So if we compare the prices of generating leads from, say, even 3 to 4 years ago to now, the costs have really gone up, and we work really hard to keep lead price down for our clients, and there's a whole art and science to being able to do that. So the thing that I want you to focus on today is, given that it is so expensive to generate student inquiries, the area that you really can have an impact on is the area of the cost of student acquisition. So the more you can do to convert the students that you're getting into paying students, the cheaper it is, and the cost per lead doesn't have as big an impact on your RTO. We've been ripped off so many times before. It's almost like I'm a used car salesman. I'm dealing with, there are a lot of agencies out there who really don't understand the complexities of generating student inquiries and generating inquiries that are of a quality where people really want to study. We've found the other issue is that lots of RTOs we speak to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in setting up CRMs that just don't do what they want them to do. And I'm not joking, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we've had some clients that come to us and they go, oh, we've just spent a fortune on ABC, CRM, and we're not getting the results we wanted. The next issue is that you may be getting inquiries, but it's really hard to convert them. So RTOs tell us they are getting the inquiries, but they have a low number of enrolments in comparison. And they tell us that their teams try and call the leads, but it's really hard to connect with those leads and actually get them on the phone to have a conversation. So obviously enrolments aren't happening at the level that they should be, or that we really need them to be happening at, so that we have healthy and profitable RTOs. The fourth area, and in my opinion, this is a really hidden area, and it is probably something that you all have way more ability to change than you're probably aware of, well, once you're aware of it, but they have no real way of tracking the leads that come into the business, and they're not actually aware of how many they're losing. So we think our teams are calling the leads. So when I speak to most RTOs, they'll say, yeah, we converted about 25%. And once we get them set up on our platform, and you should be able to use any platform to see this, we know that it's simply not true, that they're not really tracking the leads and how they come into the business. And many are still using spreadsheets. And I've spoken to a couple of people even here today that they're still using spreadsheets, and it amazes me. I don't know how they keep a track of everything they're doing using spreadsheets. So there's so much revenue lost here just in this section alone, and this is where you can have an uplift in revenue. So if you can track the enrolments that are coming in and you can work out why you're not enrolling those people or why you're losing them. Are you losing them because we're taking too long to respond to them? Are we losing them to a competitor? Why are we losing them? And once we find out why we're losing them, what that means is that you can actually do something and you can fix that problem. So towards the end of the presentation, I am going to show you exactly how you can find out how many leads you're losing and why and what you can do about it. So how much money are you happy to lose? Anything? Zero, big fat zero, that's right. So if you're anything like me and my clients, it's nothing. We don't want to lose any money, but the fact is you are. You are losing money and you don't even realise that I'm sure you realise you're losing it, but most people don't really get how much money they're losing, and your ability to follow up with course inquiries really, really quickly will have an immediate and direct impact on how much money you're losing. What if I told you you are losing at least $48,000 for every 100 leads you bring into your business? Would you believe me? Anyone? Yeah. Okay, that's great. And I know it is a really bold statement, and we went through the numbers across all of our clients and worked out that on average, for every 100 leads people bring into a business, they're losing $48,000. So in this example, I'm going to use a $4,000 course. But if you do the numbers on a $6,000 course or an $8,000 course or a $10,000 course, just imagine how much bigger the numbers are. So if we have 100 leads we're bringing into the business, industry benchmarks tell us that you'll connect with 5 to 10% of your leads. So that means you'll only have conversations with 5 to 10% of your leads, meaning 10 connections, if you convert at 20%, and that's a really big if. 20%'s a fairly high conversion rate. You will sell 2 courses. So out of every 100 leads, you'll sell 2 courses. That's $8,000. If you have a robust, repeatable, automated lead nurture system in place, you'll connect with 60 to 80% of leads. So our clients will connect with 60, sometimes up to 90% of leads. And if we're still converting at 20%, that'll give us 12 times 4,000, it's 48,000. And most of the time it's more than that. There's definitely 48,000's on the low end. So the more people you can connect with by having systems in place, the more revenue you'll bring in. So on the next slide, I'm going to play a video in the audio. I'm hoping the audio will be okay on this. But on this next slide, we had a client, Simone, who started with us, and she originally told us that she was converting 2 to 3 a month, and we thought she meant 2 to 3 a week. Within 30 days of turning on her automated nurturing system, she enrolled 53 students. So that was a whopping $212,000 in 30 days. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and hopefully this video will play okay.
Has been a game changer.
Do you mean to say 2 to 3 a month or 2 to 3 a week when you said how many you used to?
2 to 3 a month. We had disastrous results before.
And you've enrolled like 50 or something now.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Yeah, should have done it much sooner. The biggest thing is blowing away naysayers on the team that were like, oh, but we do marketing, we do social media. Tiny bits of pushback from my team, and I'm just like, no, there's no pushback. It is working. Let them do their thing. The initial pushback was, oh, I would be annoyed if they contacted me that many times. And I'm like, well, they've got a proven system that works.
I felt like that when I first started working with Tracy. I think one of my first jobs was going through one of the workflows, and I was like, yeah, doesn't this annoy people? But then I actually see it working and see people responding to the 9th message saying, oh my God, thank you so much for following me up. I'm a mum of 5. I've been so busy. Like,
yeah, exactly. Actually. And I know the team reached out this week with a suggestion on the form with one of the fields about giving them options of when they want to start. And they were doing the whole, oh, let's give them the option of next week, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I'm like, no, if it's a hot lead, they get the option of today or tomorrow. Like, we've had them on the phone, they've had SMSs, they've had emails, they've had follow-up phone calls. I'm not telling them they can enroll in 3 months' time.
So people on our teams are bringing their own uncomfortableness about sales and how the system can support them because they're not actually doing it, even though they're uncomfortable because they know it's happening in the background. But once they start seeing the results and they're not physically doing it and how much it's making a difference. I think they do settle into it. And we get the same thing. So when a client has a new team member or you know, a new marketing manager on their team, and that's one of the things they say, you're messaging them too much. And we've always got to explain, no, we've tested this for years. We know. As soon as someone responds, those messages stop.
That's it, exactly.
And then it goes with the human to human. So I'm so wrapped for you. I'm just
it's so
so
good.
happy.
So now I've got a million ideas. Now,
So $212,000. Imagine flicking on a switch and having that sort of revenue come into the business. And I know some of us get paid fee for service, some of us get paid by funding and we receive our money differently. But just think about what that sort of money would do in a month in your business. I bet it'd take away some of the stress. And if you're someone who is in the room, who's in charge of marketing, what would that do for your boss? Or what would that do for your own KPIs? I bet just quietly if you asked for a pay rise, you'd get it. Just saying. So now we're going to move into the automations that we put in place. And it doesn't matter what you're using. It doesn't matter what CRM you're using. You should be able to use any CRM to do this. Some of them are way better than others, like mine. So there's 3 key things that you really need to get right with your automations that mean the difference between 2 to 3 enrolments a month, 2 to 3 enrolments per 100 leads, or 12 to 15 enrolments per 100 leads. And if you get this stuff right, it really can mean the difference between the 2 to 15 enrolments. So before I go over these 3 things with you, I first want to show you why you need to get them right. Don't call me. So over 90% of people will not pick up the phone. And there was a study done in 2019 with ZipWhip. And during this study, they found that over 90% of people will not pick up the phone. There's a few reasons people won't pick up the phone and how often. So 63% of people are very often. I myself am in the never. If I don't have your number saved in my phone, even if I've filled in a form somewhere, I will not answer it. So I'd love to know how many of you, hands up, won't answer the phone if the number is not in your phone. Yeah, it's nearly all of you. So the report's pretty correct. And why they don't want to answer the phone, the 2 main reasons are they're just too busy or they simply don't feel like it. And we're also busy. The other thing is that telemarketers and spam callers have really made us not want to pick up the phone because every time you pick up the phone when it's a number that you don't know, it's always spam. So as I said, I will personally never answer the phone if the number isn't saved in my phone, and there's a running joke in my office amongst my team. We'll be on a Zoom or whatever and my phone will ring and it'll be an unknown number and I'll go, who the hell is calling? Why would they even try? Why would they think I'd pick up that? It drives me nuts. So, in fact, while I was actually putting this presentation together, I missed 2 calls. So that's a screenshot, not the pretty picture bit, but that's an actual 2 missed calls. And I was like, oh, so I want you to remember the 2 missed call things. I didn't answer it. What I did do, however, was I Googled the number, of course, only to find out it was listed as a nuisance or scam caller, which confirmed my resolve to never answer the phone to unknown callers. So So I do want you to remember the to call thing, because it made me inquisitive. It made me want to know, who is that? Who is calling me? Maybe it was important. It wasn't the school, because I have their number saved in my phone. But who was it? But what I can tell you is that 74% of people will respond to a text message from a business within the hour. And this Zip Whip report explained that when people were asked how to describe how they felt about text messages, they used phrases like quick, easy, convenient. And you think about it, it's easy, you're sitting at your desk working, it's easy to text back and respond to someone. So you really do need to be responding to your leads differently in order to connect with them so you have a higher chance of enrolling them. I've tried calling and texting and they still don't respond. This is something else that people say to us. So this is an actual text message that I'd opted into. It was an RTO in New South Wales. So if anyone's from New South Wales, I hope it wasn't you. But this is the text message I got. They called me. They didn't call me until the next day. So they waited 24 hours. I didn't answer because I didn't know whose number it was. And then they sent this text message, and obviously I've changed the names in it, but I've received your inquiry and we'll call you in the next 48 hours or so. Meh, I sort of felt like they didn't care too much. So what happens, oops, I'm going to go back one. Luckily we've got a back button. So what happens and what can you do when you do try contacting your leads and they still don't respond? What can we do about it? Well, the truth is you're actually not responding quickly enough and you're not trying to contact them often enough. So I'm going to show you a better way to communicate with your leads using a very friendly and not salesy approach. And this is the reason why our clients get a 60 to 90% response rate. It's why we're able to add $1 million in revenue just by tweaking these things for our clients. And it was a system, I actually designed this system about 4 to 5 years ago because I was getting frustrated with clients' teams because I felt like I'm amazing at generating all these course inquiries and they just weren't converting them. And then, of course, as a marketer, we're like the used car salesman. It's like, the leads are no good. But I just knew that there had to be something else that was not working for them because we had some clients who could convert the leads and some who couldn't. So we need to use a multimedia approach. We need to make sure that we're using the correct timing. We need to use conversational messaging. And we need to meet them where they're at. And I'll explain what I mean by that shortly. You want to be using text messaging. You want to be using phone calls. You want to be using emails. And you want to be using voicemail drops. So we want to communicate with them how they're communicating with us. And once they respond, we want to continue the communication in the style and the manner that they're communicating with us. If we make it safe for people to answer our calls, they will answer our calls. But remember, it's conversations that sell courses. So it's not about the lead gen, it's not about the conversions, well it is, but it's really about creating safety for conversations. The more conversations you're having, the safer you make it for people, the more courses you'll be enrolling. So instead of thinking about lead generation on its own, I really want you to start thinking about conversation generation. So what can we be doing to increase the number of conversations that we're having? And it's using this multimedia approach in the correct way. So this is Bruce. Some of you might know Bruce. He's been around the traps for a while, but I first met Bruce at a business mastermind event and we hit it off and became friends. And over about a 3-year period, he kept complaining that he was using these agencies and they just weren't doing what they promised they'd do. And we got to know each other and I said to him, let me have a crack then. And he said, but you don't know anything about RTOs. I said, well, I've done a little bit. I know a little bit. But he goes, okay, I'll let you have a go. I said, great, when do you want me to start? And he said, tonight. And I said, excellent. So I put together a campaign for him and the leads just came pouring in overnight. So we had literally hit it out the ballpark with his ad campaigns, and he specialised in CHC courses, so it was really easy for me to write ad copy because I have an affinity for people. Once we got that going, what we noticed was that he was working really hard at converting the leads. He had a pretty crappy CRM that I used to ring him every day and say, have I told you today how much I hate that CRM? He'd go, yes. So I decided to put together what we now have as Student Convert. It was out of that. So the success we'd had meant that he was super busy. It wasn't sustainable. He was on the phone 24/7, converting like his middle name was Enrol. Ba-boom, haha. Thank you. He was really great at actually enrolling students, but when it came time for his team to take over, because it was mostly a manual system, enrolments, conversions came down. We didn't have an automated system in place. And the other thing I found through chatting with his team was that they were sort of nervous. They'd not been trained in sales, and they were employed as admin people, they were employed as compliance people, they weren't employed as conversion specialists or sales people, or they just weren't employed as that. So I really do believe it takes a specially, is that a word? A special trained person to be able to keep picking up the phone over and over and over again when you get the knockbacks. Like, I think you've got to have a pretty thick skin to do that. And we did a little bit of work around their mindset, and we had the conversation about it, reframing them about how education changes people's lives. Like, I've got a girlfriend who has 10 children, all to the same husband, all single pregnancies, and after her last baby, her husband left. How was she going to support these kids? Like, he wasn't helping at all. She ended up doing, what she did know was that she was really good at looking after people. So she did her Cert 3 in community services, I think it was. She did her Cert 4, she did another Cert 4, and she went on to being able to work in the industry, make really good money, support her kids. And it was because of the education she got through the RTO that she was able to come through that tough time. So without these systems in place for handling leads, I absolutely knew that Bruce was losing money big time. We put the systems in place and enrolments started to increase, and we've actually on our website there's a case study, and at the end I'm going to have a QR code so you can download the case study from there, but we spoke about the sort of things that we put in place to take Bruce's RTO from 2 million to over 15 million in 4 years, and it was seriously putting these systems in place that made the difference. Like, how did we go from him being on the phones 24/7 to now he's got a team, the automations do the work for him. So making automations work in your RTO, there's 3 things that you really need to get right. We need to have the timing right, we need to have conversational messaging, and we need to have that multimedia approach. So often people don't respond to a phone call or an email, but they will respond to the text messaging. So one of the first things we do is we make sure that we send out a text message. And I'll tell you why. So having your timings right is a non-negotiable. You have to put a system in place that does it the same way every single time. I think I've skipped a slide. Oh no, next one. Where are we? I'm going to move to the next slide. Actually, this is one of the first text messages that we send out. You can see here that it's really conversational, and it's not bombarding them. It's just really asking them, do you have time for a chat today or tomorrow? Doesn't necessarily mean they'll respond to this one. we keep sending messages out, but you can see the soft approach. It's not salesy. We're not throwing a bunch of course information at them. The first thing we want to do is create the pathway to actually getting them on the phone. Timing. So most of you will have your lead gen dialed in, and if you don't, feel free to come and chat with us. We can give you some tips and hints on what you need to do to get your lead gen, get the inquiries coming into the business. But lead capture is often someone adding names to a spreadsheet or zapped into a CRM, and there isn't a way to route, manage, respond and nurture the leads in a way that results in more sales. So the other thing we don't want to do when we're setting up our automations is let our gut or intuition tell us how quickly or how often we should be trying to contact a lead. So just like in the video you saw earlier with Simone and her team being concerned that we were sending out too many messages or that we were contacting them too quickly, or Laura, when she first started working for me, was like, oh my God, you're going to be annoying people. The timing really does matter, and the number of messages that you send matters. So did your gut tell you that every single minute counts? I'm sure it didn't. But how long is too long? So this leads to the importance of automations and why you need to have them in place. So lead conversion is 8 times higher when you call within the first 5 minutes. Did your gut tell you that when you call within the first 5 minutes, lead conversion's 8 times higher, yet 1% of leads are actually called that quickly? Even Bruce wasn't even able to call his leads within the first 5 minutes. There is a 391% increase in lead conversion rate by calling in minute 1. So think about that, minute 1. If you can get onto your leads, there is a 391% increase in conversions. There is an increase if you call within minute 2, it's a 160% increase, and a 98% increase by calling in minute 3. So you can see there every minute absolutely counts. You are 60 times more likely to connect with a lead after an hour than after a day. So I want you to have a think about how long you take to call your leads. Do you even know how long it takes to call your leads? Most people don't. According to Zoombie.com, 51% of companies take a whole week to contact their leads. And I mean, I routinely opt into people's funnels, and it does take them that long. Like sometimes it's days before we hear from an organisation. Sometimes definitely a week. And even when we onboard a new client, our system quickly shows that teams are doing less than what their bosses think they are doing. So how many times should you try to reach out and connect with a lead? 1 million. Obviously, I'm joking. It's not 1 million, but it's a lot. It's way more than what you're probably doing. And our teams, our people are never going to keep trying to follow up the leads over and over and over again. They're just not going to do it. We don't have the capacity to do it. We move on to the next thing. There's always fires to put out. Everyone is so busy. Our resources are stretched. Our people are stretched. There's not that many hours in a day to consistently be calling people. So obviously you can tell I'm exaggerating with that number, sort of, kind of, but not, but I am. If we're a human, we can't do it. So this is why we need to have the automations in place. You need to have at least 30 attempts at contact in the first month, and I know it does sound like a lot, and you might be saying to yourself, no, that's too much, we'll annoy people, and if it's not you, it's going to be someone on your team that's saying that. But if you think back to the video of Simone where she was saying her team said the same thing, switched it on, they went from 2 to 3 enrolments to over 50 enrolments just by switching on these lead nurture campaigns. So this is one thing that you can absolutely go away and put in place in your businesses. You can go away and put more attempts at contact with your leads. So we often find that it'll be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 attempts at contact, and someone will respond. Every now and then you might get someone say, oh, leave me alone, and they don't say it that nicely, but we just switch them off and go, okay, we won't contact you again. But most of the time, out of all the thousands of leads that we generate for our clients, we get a thank you so much for following us up. I've been super busy. As Laura said, I'm a mum of 5 kids. My 3-year-old spilt green cordial all over the kitchen floor, and it's taken me 16 weeks to mop it all up and get the sticky off the floor. Like, life happens, it gets in the way. So you really do need to be putting a system in place to consistently follow up. So that's one of the things that you can do. You can go and put a trigger or an automation in place, depending on what you're using, that makes sure that you're texting and calling. And remember that double tap phone call that we spoke about? If you can put that double tap, so we send a text message out and then wait a couple of minutes. Your email can go out straight away as well. But send out a text message saying, hi, it's Tracy from Student Convert. You just filled in a form on our website, and I wanted to give you a call. Is now a good time or later? And then you try and call, and you call twice, because what happens when someone calls twice? We go, oh, who is that? That must have been important. I better call them back or Google them and see who they are. So the other thing we know is that 81% of salespeople, and our stats show professionally trained salespeople. We're not talking admin people who are trying to call the leads when they get a chance in between doing everything else they've got to do in your RTO. But 81% of salespeople make 5 or fewer attempts to contact a lead. Yet, if you try 8 or more times, it will yield you 15% more connections. Ideally, you do want to have people calling on your team. You never want them giving up on leads. You've spent good money on those leads. You want to have your team consistently following them up and calling. Don't ever call them a dead, cold, nothing lead, because they do come back. We have some students for our clients that will enrol 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years after they first inquired, but we're staying in contact with them. So you will get the enrolments. This is where technology comes in. So embrace technology. So how to have your team excited about making these calls? Again, it's using that technology. If you have a robust, repeatable system happening in the background, and we can let our teams know we're here for service. This isn't sales, it's service. It means that you're supporting your team using systems like this so that when people respond, they're getting these types of responses. So they're not scared then to pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone about the course. So that first message that you see here is one of our automated responses. Then this person has finally responded, thanks for the follow-up. And then Paul was able to text her back, so that's a manual text message. It's nice to hear from you. I'll call you at 4 p.m, set up the time to have a chat. So this is a really good way to remove fear of the phones and fear of making phone calls for your team. So do you think your teams would be less fearful? I mean, you guys might not even know that your teams are scared of being on the phones, but they are. They really are. Even I get scared of getting on the phone sometimes. Ask Laura. She's like, have you called that person? I'm like, I'm too scared. So this is it playing? Oh yeah, it's playing. This is one of our automations, and you can see how many steps there are that are going on there. Like, it looks nuts. It's going everywhere. But what I want you to think about is the idea of tenacity. Tenacity in reaching out to your leads, regardless of how many times you've reached out to them. So you can see how many steps there are. There are a lot of steps here. And even though we are using this many automations and we are making sure we're using the correct timing and we're being conversational in our messaging, we're not bombarding them. We're not bombarding them with a stack of information. So this is a way that your company can have tenacity on autopilot. It doesn't require the people to have it. It supports them to have it. So I don't know. You'll get a recording of this as well. So we've recorded it, you can download it, and you can sort of have a look at all the steps we take there. It's also how you're going to spend less money on people chasing leads. You've got the machine doing it for you. Sorry? Oh, was it? Hey, Siri. Oh, I shouldn't say that because everyone's phones will go off. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit now. Stop guessing, start dartering. Yes, it's a made-up word. I made it up, but I like it, and it sort of works here. So we're going to shift gears into a different area of automations in business, and we're going to take a quick look at how you can track the results of your automation and add in continuous improvement and optimisation of your sales and marketing system. So we spoke earlier about making decisions in our business using our gut or intuition. And while intuition has its merits, it's certainly paid off for me in business in the past, but relying on it solely can be precarious, especially today when everything, including the rules you guys are governed by, changed so rapidly. I was in here before and there was another speaker, I can't remember who it was, but they were speaking about how quickly everything changes, and you guys have got to adapt and keep up with it. And if you're anything like me, you're crazy busy, juggling everything you've got to juggle, numerous tasks and responsibilities, and we can often feel frustrated, anxiety. I speak to business owners all the time who aren't sleeping at night because they're so stressed with everything we've got to do. And I think making decisions when we're in that emotional state isn't the best place to make decisions on. So what I'm going to show you is how you can make informed decisions using pipelines and looking at the data in these pipelines and how we set up pipelines for our clients. So in setting up pipelines, you can see where the inefficiencies are, like you really quickly see it, and it means you can make a decision to fix something that isn't efficient, is broken, is not working. You can't hide from the inefficiencies in your business when you have these pipelines set up. How's everyone going? You all good? Not too tired? Okay, who's going to have a drink with me later? I've heard the party here afterwards really good. So unmasking bottlenecks, you can't hide forever. So in any business, bottlenecks are those pesky obstructions that slow down your processes and hinder overall performance. So in the context of student acquisition, bottlenecks can manifest in many different ways: slow response times, ineffective follow-ups, application or enrolment processes that just take too long, or even unclear communication. So you won't be able to unmask your bottlenecks unless you're actually tracking each step of the journey. So what we do with our clients is we say, so what happens when an inquiry comes in, then what happens, then what happens, then what happens. So it's every tiny step so that we can have a look and see where people are getting stuck. And often what we find is once the automations are in place and doing their job, we find that the team aren't, and it's not their fault. As we said before, they're busy, and sometimes we're not clear on what our roles are. But this here is an example of one of our clients who had over $1,600 in her 1,600 people in her pipeline. Now these aren't all the leads. These are people who'd responded to the automations. So the automations had done their job in getting people to respond. Yes, please, can I talk to someone about the course? Yes, please, I want to enrol. Yes, please, I need more information. And there were 1,600 people there who weren't responded to. So if we look at that, $5.2 million. It's a lot of money. So imagine if those leads had been responded to and they were converting at 20%. How much is it? I've got my numbers here. $1 million. So 20% conversion on this, she's missing out on $1 million. Now, she was not even aware that her leads weren't being contacted. She was just under the assumption that her leads were being contacted, and they weren't. So it's not until you have a view of the data that you can change things. Am I running out of time? Yeah, okay, I'm going to hurry. We're nearly finished, guys. So once you've got a view, you can make a difference. So let's compare this with another client. We had someone else who had exactly the same issue, and you can see from the image here, they've only got 132 leads. Everyone else has been responded to and spoken to. How? Because they put a system in place once they noticed the same thing, that the team just weren't getting back to the leads who were saying, yes, please speak to me, yes, please call me. So what this client did was she put a process in place and set some KPIs that every single responded lead had to be cleared by the end of the day. The result, a month after implementing this new process, they did their highest number of enrolments ever. And in fact, we had to turn off all of her advertising because she's booked out until later in 2024. And it's the first time in her 18 years of business that all of her classes have been filled. So that's a serious impact on business, knowing your data and being able to look at what's broken. Another bottleneck. So this one here is a client who had $1.5 million sitting in finalised enrolments, just waiting on co-contributions and invoices to be paid. And I thought, that's really strange. Why is there so much money sitting in there, and why isn't that in his bank account? It was a bookkeeping error. So students weren't getting their invoices sent to them properly, which meant they weren't paying. We wouldn't have known that had we not had this pipeline set up and been able to find that bottleneck there. As soon as we found that, we were then able to very quickly fix that problem. That $1.5 million made its way to his bank account. He now never has any more than $20,000 to $50,000 in invoices waiting for students. Broken links. This is the last one. So another area was a client was sending out their enrolment link, and I don't know whether it was to Accelerate or where it was to, but sending out their enrolment link in an email, and people just weren't enrolling. And actually Laura noticed it, because we go through and audit our clients' accounts and just have a look and see if we can see anything that we can help with. And Laura found that there was actually a broken link. The enrolment form wasn't being sent to people. So she emailed the client, fixed the link, did a bulk email out to everyone. The enrolments finally started coming in. So fixing these bottlenecks once you're aware of them means instant increases in revenue. Ta-da! The end. So if you'd like to scan that QR code, I think we've got the case study there, and if you want to have a chat with us, but honestly, you can go out and do this with whatever CRM. Obviously, I'm biased. I think mine is way better. Have a scan if you'd like to chat with us. We've also got a booth out there. Come and grab a bag. We've got so many bags and I can't take them home on the plane with me, so please come and grab one, because there's a to-do list thing in there, and the first thing is booking a call with. So thank you so much for bearing with me today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I really do hope I've given you some insights and some learnings that you can go away and take and put into your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Nailed it. Fantastic.
Oh, great.
Here's a little gift, a token of our appreciation for coming along today.
Thank you
Guys,
so much.
afternoon tea time. Go and enjoy. Last session for the afternoon in here will be at 4:20, and we're looking at the Equality Reforms Update with Cara Sargent. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.